We are.
Yes, indeed. We are live. How's everyone doing out there tonight?
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
My name is John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Radlin Mendoza, and we are the immigration law firm Gardner and Mendoza. We come to you every Wednesday night to bring you immigration updates and to answer your immigration questions. We haven't been here for a couple of weeks because we were on a big family trip, an international extravaganza.
It's very fun.
Yeah, it was completely awesome. We went to Thailand and to Bali, Indonesia, and we just had a really, really wonderful time. So we're a little rusty. We're still a little jet lagged, but we are here and we're ready to give you some immigration updates, and we're ready to answer your questions. If you have any questions, I want to say hello also to everybody out here in TikTok world. So we are.
And my hair is sticking up. Like nobody told me that. Okay.
We're here on Facebook, and then we're also here on TikTok. So if you have questions on TikTok, put them up, and we will absolutely try to get to them tonight. How's everyone doing? Middle of summer, yeah. These are good times. Good times. Okay.
I am sharing here. Sharing. So just bear with me if you want to do. If you want to kind of take a.
We need a little time anyway.
Well, hold on. Did we do our what our lawyer told us to say, or
no? That's what I was getting to.
Oh, you were about to say that.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's awesome.
It was about to roll off of my lips. It was about to leave. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah, we've been struggling, guys.
Right.
We just got back.
So one thing that I do want to warn all of you about is that what we do here is for informational and educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not legal advice. So we are going to answer your questions. We are going to give you immigration legal updates, but it's not legal advice. Don't construe it as legal advice. It's just information. It's education. If you have an immigration case or an immigration question, something going on in your life involving immigration, and you do want legal advice and you want the help of an attorney, then by all means give us a call, become a client of ours, and we will give you all the legal advice that you ever could expect, all right, or wish for. Okay, with that, we have some updates. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go updates first, or well, you know what? This question that I have here on my right, it's just
kind of. I have a question here.
All
right.
It's kind of burning a hole in my brain. So
get to it.
Let's answer this question. It's a good question. I understand the concern, but Gordon wants to know: does your firm represent LGBTQ clients with the same rights, zest, and vigor that you represent other couples with? Are there any biases or beliefs that would hinder our being represented fairly? So Gordon, 100%, yes, of course, we do. And we have represented LGBTQ clients, of course, when the ability to do so was first presented to us and to other immigration attorneys. And 100%, absolutely, there's no difference to us, right? I mean, and I do believe that immigration has come quite a long way from when we first started representing couples, and there were some oddball questions for sure. I mean, and they took immigration attorneys by surprise, including me, and we just don't see that anymore because it is just part of the program, which is good news. I'm hoping that that stays the same under this new administration. I don't see why it would change as far as adjudicating a case. So absolutely 100% the same zest and vigor that we represent any one of our clients. I think you are going to be in good hands. But great question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. And this is a complete side note, but I just want to mention this, that, Radlin and I, we met in law school. We graduated from law school in 1998, and that's when we met and became engaged and got married shortly after graduating from law school. But when we were in law school in our third year, most third-year law students, most law schools are required to do this, and we did as well, which is to do a legal research and writing project. It's part of the third year of law school. You take on a novel issue and you sort of map it out and game it out to see how it might go if the law were to change, or maybe if you interpret it a little bit differently. And Radlin's issue, this is back in 1998, her argument in her paper, her third year paper, was that immigration benefits should flow equally to same-sex couples as to any other couples under federal immigration law. And it was, at the time, I mean, it was a really novel, groundbreaking sort of issue. And it was really, really cool to see the arguments. And I think she got an A+. I know she got an A+ on the paper.
On paper. I was wondering where you're
it was
going with
really,
this.
really well done. And so talk about being way, way, way ahead of the curve. Radlin was definitely ahead of the curve on this. So Gordon, if you call us, you're going to be dealing with the right people. Trust me.
Really great question, because
Yeah.
again, this is a valid concern, and we, in all of our, same-sex couple cases, we just I can't think of any one of them that were there was a negative outcome because of the fact that it was a same-sex couple. Again, weird questions in the beginning, questions about, well, I mean, you were married to a woman before, now why are you married to a man? These types of questions. I haven't heard questions like that. Our attorneys haven't heard questions like that. And so definitely moving in the right direction. So hopefully that answers your question, Gordon. I had to put it up there because it's a good one.
No, absolutely.
Okay, let's go with an update.
Okay, so.
And before you do that, guys, if there's a point in time where you can't hear us, please let us know. We'll try to make adjustments, especially on TikTok. There have been problems with the app in previous live, so just let us know if you can't hear us. Okay, good.
So one of the things that we have seen on and off since 2000, when we started our law firm, is talk about immigration reform. There's been various bills that have been introduced. None of them have ever gone anywhere. Some have been small. Some have been massive, comprehensive immigration reform bills. None of it has ever gone through. So the changes that we have seen in immigration law through the years have almost been exclusively through executive actions. However, the president is either entering executive orders to make something happen, gets challenged in court, some of it gets through, some of it gets shut down. New presidents come in, they shut down what the prior administration was doing, some more litigation. This has just been the pattern now for 25 years. Executive order, legal challenge, executive order, legal challenge, on and on and on. I say all that to just let you know that there is now a new bipartisan bill that has been introduced. It's not massive, comprehensive immigration reform, but Representatives Maria Salazar, who is a Republican from Florida, and Veronica Escobar, who is a Democrat from Texas, have introduced legislation called the Dignity Act. And essentially what it's saying is that anybody who is in the country who is undocumented, who can show that they have been here since at least 2021 and wants to try to pursue legal status, that they would be able to get 7 years of legal status, which then could be renewed at the end of those 7 years. And they would, with that status, they would have work authorization. However, they would not be eligible for any federal benefits, and this would not create any path to citizenship. So this is what we call a skinny bill, meaning it's addressing immigration, but not a comprehensive immigration change. This would address something very specific, and that would be folks that are undocumented and want to at least try to have some sort of legal status and work authorization. It will probably go nowhere. That's been our experience through the years watching these things, because both sides always want something. what I see the problem with this bill right out of the gate is that there's no path to citizenship, and that's always a sticking point with half of the Congress. So half of the Congress always wants a path to citizenship to be a part of the legislation, and when it's not, it typically doesn't go anywhere. We'll see. But at least that's something. It's an
There
update.
can be many iterations going back and forth. Maybe that gets added on. But it's good that it's a starting point.
Yeah, it is a starting point. And if there's any optimism in my mind, it is the fact that I also saw something in some Gallup. Radlin will attest to this, that I'm sort of obsessed with polling, sort of a hobby of mine. I love reading about polls and where the pulse is on certain things. And Gallup had a poll out very recently, and Gallup is a very respected polling agency that for the first time in 4 years, more Americans are less concerned about immigration than they were. So only 30% of Americans now want immigration to be decreased. That number was 55% just a year and a half ago. All right. A lot of people think this is what, in part fueled Trump's presidential run, was that immigration was such a hot issue, and that ultimately there was a lot of pushback from voters, and that's what brought it. But that's starting to ebb the other way now, and these polls are showing that this 4-year trend of more and more people wanting to curb immigration, wanting to close down the border more, wanting to have less immigration, for the first time it's taking the other direction. Probably a result maybe of some of the harsh things that have been going on. Maybe they're sad and reacting. Maybe people are feeling better about it because they think the border is now secure and okay, we closed the border, now we can get back to more immigration. Whatever the reasons are, it's encouraging to me that the public mood is shifting on this a little bit. So maybe that, coupled with this new legislation that's been introduced, maybe we finally will get some movement. We'll see.
Yeah, we shall see.
Because the temperature has to be right. That's always been the problem with immigration legislation, is that in the world that we're all in right here, all of this stuff makes a lot of sense to us. But you have to remember, it's a big country with a lot of districts, and all of these senators, all these Congress people, they have to answer to the voters, and they know, especially in the Congress, every 2 years, in the House of Representatives, I should say specifically, every 2 years, they got to go back to their voters and, justify what they've been doing. And a lot of these people just can't afford to take certain votes on immigration. They know it will destroy their reelection. So if the public is in favor of these things, that helps tremendously, which is why I've always said for the last 10 years, when we've done any kind of these live Facebook Lives or anything else, that the real way to try to push change in the immigration world is to put pressure on your elected officials. That's where the change happens.
I was about to say that.
When you can convince your representatives that it's in their district's best interest and it's what their voters want, that's where the change comes from.
Yes, and for those of you who want to see change in immigration, want to see an immigration reform bill like this get passed, that's exactly what you need to do. That's with anything that is immigration related. And I'm talking about immigration. There are many issues in the country right now. I mean, it's not just immigration. This is probably the most publicized right now. But if you don't like what you're seeing with ICE enforcement, call your representative, complain, and tell them that this is not the type of enforcement that you were voted for. If you voted for this, or that you don't want to see this, you don't think this is American, it's not part of what the American dream is about, call your representative and say something. And as John said, that's probably the thing that's going to move the needle the most for things that we can do individually as voters and constituents. So
yeah, if your representative thinks that they can weather a vote on these things and still survive and get reelected, they'll do it. The reason they don't, not all of them, I mean, some of them are just ideologues who on both sides for whatever reason. They are going to do what they want to do anyway. But a lot of them are, finger in the wind. They're trying to figure out what their constituents will tolerate and not tolerate, and what's going to keep them in office. And if they think it's popular or not so unpopular that it's going to crush them, they'll get on board with it.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for that. We will keep you posted. There's just a lot of stuff going on with immigration.
Yeah.
We try to report on things that we think is relevant to the folks who are watching. And if there's something that you want to know more about, put it in the comments, and we'll try to report on it and discuss more if there's something that you want to know more about. But the main reason we're here is to answer your immigration questions. Not sure how the questions are going on TikTok. Hopefully you can hear us and don't have any issues. But let's grab a first question.
Okay, the very first question that came up here just went back down because a bunch of other ones came in, but it was basically asking, it was incomplete, but asking if providing false information, would a misdemeanor of providing false identification to a police officer prevent my husband getting, and then I don't
getting
see
his green card, maybe getting U.S. citizenship.
Right.
Potentially, we would have to take a look at that statute. Is it a crime of moral turpitude that
getting
would make
getting his green card?
Yeah.
She came back and finished it up.
Yeah. Is it a crime of moral turpitude that would make him inadmissible, and that we would potentially need a waiver for? So there is a waiver for CIMTs when you're applying for the green card. The thing to note here when you're asking questions like this is possibly, right? Is there going to be a problem? Possibly there could be a problem. The immigration attorney, we would need to take a look at the charging documents. We'd have to take a look at the certified disposition to see what the outcome was, what was the sentence, when was it, all of those factors. And then if it is an issue and it does make him inadmissible, can we still apply with a waiver? So for all of you, not just you who's asking the question, where you're looking at, okay, my spouse or my family member, they have this conviction or they have this charge. We see so many times where people do not do anything about it, right? They just sit and wait and don't investigate further whether this is going to be a problem, and then there's inaction. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. We do see a lot of that, and I recommend that you give us a call. We will do a consultation. We'll ask you to upload your husband's certified disposition of what happened, so we can see the outcome and what the sentence was, and really in the consultation, really take a look at, is this going to be an issue, and is this something that you want to file right now? If we do need to file a waiver, are you good? Is a waiver feasible? Are we going to get the waiver approved? So we look at all of those aspects of it, and I just encourage you and people who have questions like this, especially dealing with a criminal conviction, thank you for asking the question. Thank you for coming on here.
Yeah.
And just making sure, right? But take that extra step. And if it's not with us, we would love to meet with you. But if it's not with us, talk to an immigration attorney with great reviews, who's recommended, with a good track record. So good luck with that. I hope that you take our recommendation to take the next step.
Yeah, and for many years, my practice specialized in criminal defense and of primarily non-U.S. citizens. And there are some really, really nuanced things that go on in that world, in that realm. So if you have a criminal case, you really want to make sure that you're consulting with an immigration lawyer if you're not a citizen. If you are a U.S. citizen, then obviously, whatever the criminal punishment is that you face, it just is what it is. The problem non-citizens have, as Rylan just was talking about, is that in addition to the potential punishment of the crime, there's also this other shoe that can drop, which is the immigration consequences. And sometimes they're more severe for folks because maybe the criminal case is something that is really not going to get them in too much trouble, maybe no jail time or a weekend in jail or just a small fine even. But then the second shoe drops, which is the immigration problem. I don't know all the facts here. I don't love false identification to
I
a
don't
police
either.
officer.
Yeah, it's not good.
That's not good. That's just a real red flag to me. Things like obstruction of justice, any kind of fraud crimes. These are
Misrepresentation.
misrepresentation. These are bad places to be in a criminal case if you're a non-U.S. citizen, in addition to drugs and crimes of violence, of course. But drugs and crimes of violence, most people kind of think, well, yeah, of course, those seem dangerous. But they think these other things maybe are not as big of a deal. Theft.
Even if it is a misdemeanor.
Yeah, these are danger zones for sure. So if you have any kind of charge like that, I would highly recommend you consult with somebody. And if it's already a done deal, looks like this case was already over, whatever happened in the case happened, you really want to consult with an immigration lawyer before you take any steps, because you don't want to do anything that's going to harm your immigration case. I mean, you may have an immigration case that can't go forward.
Yeah.
You'd be better off to not mess with it. All right.
Yes. As I told one potential client that I had a consultation with, is our job is to make things better, not to make things worse. So sometimes there are times where we don't file anything, right? We're not going to file anything, even though it looks like person is eligible. But we're not going to put we're not going to put your head in the mouth of the lion, right? If it's going to get bitten off, that's just not what we're here for. We don't want to do any harm. So if you have any criminal record history, even if it's a charge, if it's a deferred finding, if you had any type of pre-diversion where something got reduced or dismissed after a year, but you had to, do a no contest or a guilty plea, you got to be careful with that, because on the paperwork and what you think lay people believe that, yes, this was dismissed, but for immigration purposes, it's still a conviction. It makes no sense, right? It's definitely counterintuitive. And we're spending a lot of time on this because it's very important.
It gets people into a lot of trouble because in most states, well, probably in all states, there are programs where you can, as Radha mentioned, you can do something to have the charge dismissed. And so, you do classes or you do counseling, this kind of thing, or you stay out of trouble. The problem with all those is, even though they are dismissed by your state court, they still count as convictions for immigration purposes, because in all of those situations, a judge has found that the facts were sufficient to find you guilty. Like, yes, I would find you guilty, but I'm going to give you a chance to get it dismissed. Immigration treats that as basically, then, okay, well, then you did whatever it was that you were accused of. The state court may have dismissed it, but we're still going to treat it as a conviction. So be careful. And back to Rosanna, looks like you're petitioning for your husband to get his green card. You would definitely want to talk to your immigration lawyer about this, or if you don't have an immigration lawyer, contact us to discuss this further, because you really need to be careful here.
All right. Awesome.
And I think I saw my mom sign on.
I did.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
She always tells me, she says, I just signed on to watch, but you don't have to say hi to me. That's kind of embarrassing. I was like, no, of course not. I always want to say hi.
Is it embarrassing for her though? Because maybe it is for her.
Oh, maybe. I think she thinks it's embarrassing for me, but maybe she thinks it's embarrassing for her. Mom, I'll call you tonight and ask you.
We'll ask. Who is it embarrassing for? It's not embarrassing for us. It's fun for us. We do. John and I like to say that before TikTok and before anything, it was our moms who were the only ones watching. That's right. That's true. That is true. No questions. We were just talking. Okay. Ivan, sorry. Ivan's, I called him Ivan. It's probably Ivan. Traditional pronunciation, maybe. Ivan says, hi, you guys. First of all, thank you for the easy to access free information given here. You're very welcome, Ivan. I am a green card holder with no criminal record and no problems with the law ever. Will I face any potential trouble while exiting and re-entering the United States? So, Ivan, if you don't have any reason to be questioned at the port of entry, and you mentioned one of the main things is no criminal record history, right? So that's, you get a check mark there. No criminal record history, pass. You can come through. Let me ask you a couple more questions. The second question is, have you ever done anything to abandon your lawful permanent residency? Probably not. And that means staying outside of the United States for more than 180 days, more than a year. Probably not. You may have mentioned that. So check there too. So you got 2 checks. You can come through Customs and Border Protection as a lawful permanent resident, no problem. Third question, have you ever had a marijuana possession charge against you? Maybe it was dismissed. You say no criminal record history. Have you admitted to using marijuana? These marijuana use is very treacherous for lawful permanent residents, and marijuana convictions, especially for simple possession. You say no criminal record, but I'm mentioning this here because it's pretty common. So if that's the case, then that could be problematic. And for those of you who are marijuana users, those of you who have simple possession marijuana convictions that may have been dismissed because of the first offender, what is it? The first offender status, or
yeah. In Virginia, we call it first offender. I'm sure every state has a similar marijuana diversion.
Right. Be very careful. Like, don't travel until you become a U.S. citizen. Don't travel with any marijuana type convictions, charges, anything that has to do with marijuana, because there's a possibility of being questioned and potentially being detained with no bond if they think this marijuana charge or admitting use of marijuana does not fall within, less than 30 grams of marijuana coming together. So even if it did, you'd still have to go through a hearing to show that it was less than 30 grams. So don't do that. If you have any marijuana related activities or convictions or charges, do not leave the United States as a lawful permanent resident and try to come in. Okay, even if you've done it before, you need to take care of that. So that is, I believe that's the third thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan doesn't have that. The fourth thing is, Ivan, what does your social media profile look like right now? Are you protesting? Are you protesting in favor of things that the government deems to be terrorist type activities? Do you have anti-Semitic speech? So these are things, your social media profile, you also need to take a look at and be careful with. So Ivan, if you have green checks on all 4 of these items or 5 of these items, then you are good to go with the travel. And guys, it's, we traveled back into the United States recently on Sunday.
Very recently.
And I mean, it's not, even as U.S. citizens, is not a comfortable position to be coming back into the United States. And we have no problems. We have no issues. We're immigration lawyers. We have this Facebook that we talk about immigration every week. We've got TikTok, whatever. But we still took precautions, right? When we're traveling back in, we talked to our kids. We said, look, like, do not mess around when we're going through inspection. Put your phones away, turn your phones off. And one of the reasons why we want them
to be respectful, be polite.
Right.
This is a serious thing. Don't be horsing around.
And answer the questions directly. And so it was fine. I mean, like, we all came through, and there were 6 of us total. And then he was taking our pictures one by one. And then Don was all the way over to the right. And then he was like, now everybody come back right in front of him. But we all had to take pictures. They were all filed over to the far right. And then he made a joke, and he's like, what are you trying to get away from me? Are you trying to leave without doing, and so it was a joke, but it was also like,
didn't have a real joke tone.
Didn't have a joke tone with, like, he was all beefed up too. And, so everything went fine. One of the questions, of course, is if the amount of money that you're carrying, and fruits and vegetables are a big deal. So I know this sounds silly, but don't bring any fruits and vegetables. I would have loved to bring like 10 pounds of mangosteens with me, but don't do that. Don't even take a banana from the airplane, right? Don't take an apple, because those little things, and we've experienced this before, where I asked you if you had any food, fresh food. You said no. Oh, well, this is from the plane. I mean, we've had this conversation with CBP before, and it's just not if you can avoid that secondary inspection, we've been to secondary inspection a couple of times, you got to do it, and just don't take food, don't take anything, don't take more than $10,000. All the things. Just, and Ivan, I know this kind of goes deeper into your question, but even as a U.S. citizen, just make sure that you're answering the questions.
Yeah, and I'm going to piggyback on the question just to remind everyone, because we're talking about marijuana there briefly. Marijuana is not legal under federal law.
Yeah.
So be real careful. Those of you who live in states where marijuana has been legalized, do not think that because it's legal in your state that you can do it or admit to doing it and it's okay for immigration. It is not. All right.
Right.
Be aware of that.
I have not had this before with our cases, or our attorneys have not had this with their cases, from what I know. But even working in the marijuana industry and, filing for the green card, I've seen colleagues who are very concerned about that. And so just be careful with all of it. And Ivan, last thing for Ivan's question, and this is not just for Ivan, and everything that we've said is not just for Ivan, it's for all of the permanent residents who are traveling out there. Why are you still a permanent resident? Why are you not a U.S. citizen? So if you are at the time, Ivan, where you can apply for U.S. citizenship, whether you've had your permanent resident card for at least 4 years and 9 months, or if based on marriage to a U.S. citizen, 2 years and 9 months, you're eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship. You have no criminal record history. If you're eligible, the question that we have is, why have you not applied yet? And if your answer is because I don't want to apply during the Trump administration, that's absolutely silly. Sorry if that is your reasoning. If you want to apply for U.S. citizenship, it is very fast right now. There's no reason you should not apply for U.S. citizenship, and you should definitely not be using the fact that I'm afraid that Trump is going to deport me if I apply for U.S. citizenship. That's just nonsense. So spread that word. We will not go on that. We have more questions. So let's grab the next question before we start the lecture.
Yeah, but we have been trying to just, help people rest a little easier. That, a lot of the news is involving certain areas of immigration. But those of you who are just, longtime green card holder, you don't have any trouble in your past, and you've been thinking about naturalizing, there's nothing about the current situation that should make you think you can't do that right now. You absolutely can. It's business as usual with many of these cases. So I would recommend that you do it in the event that it's not business as usual in the coming years. So, there's a there could be a risk in waiting as well, is my point. Okay.
Yes, the risk in waiting is fees going up and the test getting harder.
Yeah.
So that's a real possibility in the next 3 years and is it 8 months? 3 years and 8 months. I'm doing the math. 3 years and 7 months.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the next question off TikTok.
All right. So
you guys have been so patient.
Yeah, Karen wants to know: is it safe to travel with advanced parole through DACA?
So it should be. I mean, I would definitely talk to your attorney and go through all of these elements that I just went through with Ivan. I mean, you have DACA, so some all of these things that we've talked about do apply. And a few months ago, I met with someone, and they had DACA, and they traveled, I believe, in March. They had no issues coming in. They came in through Atlanta. They were super happy. And when they traveled, of course, they went to go see family members. And when they traveled back in, they had an inspection, right? And so they're able to then now become a permanent resident through their spouse because they have an inspection. So you gotta speak with your immigration lawyer who assisted you with getting advanced parole and the DACA, and making sure that you are all systems go to travel. I don't want to answer that question for you. Is it safe to travel? But generally speaking, I've spoken recently to people who have traveled and come back in successfully on DACA advanced parole. All right.
Yeah, and that's where we get back to, this is for informational, educational purposes only, and not legal advice, because these are the kinds of questions we really would need to know. We can only tell you based on other clients but every case is unique, and we would want to know exactly what your case is and what's going on with it before we would definitively say, yes, it is safe to travel, or no, it is not safe to travel.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay, I have a question here from Joanne. She says, what is the timeline for changing status from B1, B2, that's just the tourist visa, to H1B, H2A, and H1 when a job offer has been extended? So with the H1B, the H1B season, the cap-based values, it's already done. So H2A, you would then have to see whether visas are available. I believe those have already been reached for the year, but I'm not certain. We don't do H2A visas. And if we're talking about H1, again, we have to look at how are you going to be applying for the H1B? Is the person going to work for an institution where there is no H1B cap, such as, a public university? But for right now, those are not available for cap subject H1Bs. H2As, I don't know if those have run out yet. So hopefully that's helpful, Joanne. The point here is that you may not be able to change your status to one of these categories because of the cap, and you need to look further into that. There's a potential H3, which is trainee visa. You can change to an O1, potentially change to an F1, which is a student visa, but that's not what you asked. You specifically asked for these categories, so we would have to take a look at it. All right, question though. Got one from TikTok?
Yeah, we've got one here. It says, "Hi, I was just wondering why they scheduled me for an interview 2 days after my biometric."
I'm sorry, what was that question?
Just wondering why they scheduled me for an interview 2 days after my biometric.
So, it really depends on what case it is. I mean, are you concerned? 2 days after your biometrics is pretty quick, but we were initially concerned with marriage adjustment cases getting adjudicated and having an interview within three months of filing. Everything was fine. It's just that they were processing those cases first. If you're concerned about it, then I would, speak to your attorney. If you have an attorney, if you don't have an attorney, why don't you have an attorney? But if there's no reason to be concerned, then it's probably hopefully just a processing that just happened faster than the posted processing times. Okay. Pao Chung. Hi, Pao. Is it a good idea to go back to our original country at this time, and how long, since I just went early this year with you guys? Yay! That's awesome. Did I speak to you? Because if someone should have spoken to you about travel, but Pao, is it a good idea? When Trump first got elected and we got sworn into the office in January, there's a lot of things happened, right? Like so quickly. And we told our attorneys to tell our clients not to travel, right? Like, don't travel at this time. It's unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. That was back in January. And if you got that message from your attorney and from us, then that was because we were, we were basically trying to make sure that nothing catastrophic was going to happen. Like, oh, you're a permanent resident, you're not going to be able to come back in. Going to sign an executive order that so many executive orders regarding immigration were signed on day one. So we have had clients who are permanent residents who have successfully traveled. We meet with people who are our former clients who are permanent residents, and they've called us about traveling. How, if you were here when we were talking to Ivan, if you got your green card, do you have a criminal record history? You just got it. There's not going to be any abandonment issues. Questions about marijuana use still goes. You just got your green card. You answered no on the I-45 for these questions. But give us a call And let's get into it so we can give you a little bit of peace of mind about traveling. So again, you may have gotten a message from us that said, hey, you just got your permanent resident, do not travel right now. We've taken our foot a little bit off of the gas there and, step back a little bit to kind of see exactly what's going on. There are just a lot of things, and we have found that the people who were having trouble coming back in as a permanent resident or being detained or being issued a notice to appear, there's something going on with their history. And for all of you lawful permanent residents out there who are long-term permanent residents, you've been traveling in and out of the United States with no problems at all. You've got a conviction, you've been traveling in and out with no problems at all. Please, please, please travel with a certified disposition of how your conviction ended up or how your charge got dismissed, even if it's the most minor of things. And I don't want to say, assault and battery is the most minor of things, but it kind of is, right? You don't even get jail time for assault and battery. You push somebody, it's assault and battery.
In Virginia, an offensive touching
is
an
assault
and battery.
Right. So, marijuana use certainly in a marijuana cigarette is certainly not the crime of the century, but it's very bad for permanent residents who are traveling outside of the United States to have any of these. So, Pao, just give us a call. I'll talk to you personally, and we'll get into it. Okay. I'll hopefully be able to give you some peace of mind about traveling outside of the United States.
Yeah, and we have a next question there from Allison. This is a little bit easier, just to be clear. This is, it's safe for a permanent resident to fly within the U.S. Domestic travel is a different story. You really have very little to worry about if you're just talking about hopping on a plane in Virginia and heading over to Kansas or whatever. When we have all these warnings that we're giving everyone, we're for the most part talking about international travel. I'm not saying it's impossible to have a problem when you're traveling. I mean, if you have an outstanding arrest warrant in another state, you may not want to be going through any inspection at all and any crossing state lines. But all these warnings really are dealing with international travel for the most part.
And that's because the Customs and Border Protection have a lot of leeway to protect the homeland, right?
They do.
And you just got to be careful. And Allison, you should apply for citizenship if you are eligible.
Yeah.
See the last 10 minutes. All right. What else do we have?
All right.
How is TikTok doing? They're normally super rabid. I don't see. There are a lot of questions there.
No, they're definitely here.
Are we talking too much?
No. No, it's just
the right amount.
That's right. We
finished each other's sentences because we've been married for like 27 years now. And by the way, if we haven't mentioned it yet, our law firm is celebrating our 25th anniversary this year.
That's right.
Officially October of 2025, sort of towards the end of the year. But we're very excited about that. And we've got some fun things coming up, like client appreciation, big party, as well as we have Citizenship Day coming up in September.
Yeah.
Really need to get in that and get going on that. So anyway, keep tuning in for all the fun Gardner and Mendoza events.
That's right.
TBD. Right.
Yeah. All the things that we said, we'll start planning that when we get back from Thailand. We're back. So it's time.
Yeah.
So Lay wants to know, how far back should evidence go for N400 if I filed an I-751 last year?
So when you're filing your N400, you have to show that you have been married to your spouse for at least 3 years. So 2 years and 9 months if you're filing 90 days early. So 3 years. And I know you just filed your I-751. Your 751 probably took a little while, probably took a couple years. So you need to update that documentation to make it current. So from the time that you filed, from the day that you file your N400, you need 3 years back to show that you and your spouse have been living together. So is a marriage certificate proof that you've been living with your spouse for at least 3 years? No. Are photos? No. It's things like your utility bills, your mortgage, your taxes that you filed together that show the same address. Maybe you have driver's licenses that, well, hopefully you have a driver's license that has the same address. So these are the types of things that when you file your N-400, think about living physically together for the past 3 years. That's what they're looking for. So it's a little bit different from I-751. They are related, but they're specifically looking for living together under the same roof. Hopefully that's helpful. Let's see here. Okay, that's the last slide. I think I just answered that question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pau says, I did not talk to Pau if they have these questions. How long do I have to wait to apply for citizenship with a 2-year green card? And if I apply, do I need to give up my original nationality? So you can apply for U.S. citizenship 2 years and 9 months from the date on your green card. You're probably going to have to file the I-751 in between that at 1 year. Well, you are going to have to, not probably, at 1 year and 9 months. And whether you have to give up your citizenship depends on your country. USCIS and will not stop you from having dual citizenship. And so it depends on the country where you're from. Okay. Next question. We're really going now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They said salamat.
Salamat po.
Mm-hmm. But God. Okay.
What?
Just
Yes. Where did that water come from? I'm going to have some of this water that
even she's shocked by that. Okay. Aya wants to know, is a minor speeding ticket already paid, no criminal record, an issue for international travel? Has a green card. So we've been seeing this has been going on for months now. Variations of the same question, and obviously we understand why people are concerned. Minor speeding ticket already paid, no criminal record. Is that going to be a problem? Probably not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. My throat is sore.
But you said minor speeding ticket. I just we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. What kind of speeding ticket was it? I know in Virginia we have a speeding ticket, but over a certain speed, it's considered reckless driving. It's still based on speed. It is a misdemeanor. It does carry potential jail time. If it's coupled with another criminal activity, the two things together can sometimes cause an immigration problem. So
there's a lot there.
My question would be, when I hear questions like this, I worry that maybe people aren't fully aware of what the charge was. But if it really was a minor speeding ticket, if you were, 9 miles over, you didn't even go to court, you just mailed in the payment and that was the end of it. Is it a problem for international travel? Very likely no. But like Radlin said, you may want to just, be a belt and suspenders kind of person. You may want to get a certified disposition so that if there is any question about it, you can produce it right there at the scene. Not that it wouldn't ultimately get sorted out, but nobody wants a headache when they're coming in. And when you hear international travel, I don't know about the rest of you, but the first thing I think is slightly sleep deprived when you're going through immigration, because you're usually coming from somewhere. You've been on a plane for a while. You had to get up early, get to the airport 3 hours in advance. You're tired. The last thing you need is a hassle. And so anything you can do to make sure you just go through smoothly, I would do it. So that's my answer.
That's great. Great recommendation.
Okay. Let's see.
I'm looking at some processing times here. Okay.
Hey, it's me. Jing says, hi, how are you, Po?
Hello.
Hi there. Let's see. Hi there. Master Aragon says, watching from Monterey, California.
Oh, beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Monterey
is lovely. We got here, Lily says, greetings from Tucson, Arizona. Lily, thank you so much for joining us from Tucson. This doesn't surprise us. I should mention we have clients all over the country, all over the world. Our office is physically located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but immigration law is federal. So we can represent people in any state.
Okay, while you're kind of scrolling through that, Gordon has asked a whole bunch of other questions.
Okay.
Gordon, you're getting too much into the weeds for our live with some of the specific questions. As far as, you know, when a person is filing a marriage green card case, you do have to show that you are in a bona fide marriage and relationship, and you have to put documents to show that. So whatever documents you have, they do love documents that are official, like utility bills, joint bank accounts, joint tax returns. If you just got married, you probably don't have these types of things. Joint credit card statements, anything that is joint, that is financial, immigration loves those types of documents. There are other documents that you can provide if you don't have those documents, like maybe you added your spouse to your health insurance, or you updated your HR and said, hey, I'm married now. This is my spouse's name. Here's the information. You can get that printout. And so if there's not a lot, and usually there's not tons, unless you've been married for a long time, then we have to do a little bit of thinking outside of the box and providing the documents and seeing what you have. As far as processing times are concerned, I saw that your spouse or soon-to-be spouse is J1. Are they subject to the 2-year residency requirement? That's going to make the case take a lot longer than if we're just filing an I-130, I-45 without, any no objection or anything if there's a waiver. So hopefully that helps, just to give you a ballpark. For green card cases right now, based on marriage to a U.S. citizen, based on you're filing for your parent and you're doing adjustment of status for your parent, you're a U.S. citizen. The processing times differ depending on where the service center is and the field office. Right now, ours in our location, Norfolk, it's showing 17 months, but we are seeing cases get adjudicated within a 6-month period of time, sometimes even faster. So that's good news. Somebody was talking about getting a biometrics and then a couple of days later getting an interview. But it looks like they're trying to get these newly filed cases out first, potentially as a strategy to reduce backlog. So it depends. And it could be even faster. It could also be slower. All right. Want to grab another question there?
Yeah, Ada had another question about, certified disposition for a case 25 years ago, green card, okay to travel. Ada, rather than rehash it, I would encourage you just to we just got to your question, so hopefully you've been listening the whole time. It's all the same information.
Okay, and guys, when you file for U.S. citizenship, right? Sometimes, depending on what the charge is, and if it's outside of the 5-year good moral character period, and it's not a deportable charge, it makes you inadmissible. I mean, filing for citizenship could cure these issues, right? If you're afraid to travel, if you can't travel, if there's going to be a problem, you've got a charge, whatever it was, from 25 years ago. Maybe you should apply for U.S. citizenship. And of course, you bring that charge up during your naturalization interview, and you become a U.S. citizen. And so you don't have these travel questions. You're not worried about something from 25 years ago. If you see some of the worst, just things that make you feel really bad, the videos about long-time lawful permanent residents going back to the Philippines, coming back in, and getting detained upon entry because they have a 25-year-old embezzlement conviction. They have a controlled substance conviction from 20 years ago that, yes, I did this. Yes, I served my time. Yes, I'm good now. That was the past. I mean, I was 19 years old when that happened. Those are the people that are getting detained as permanent residents. It's these things that are in the past that they've been going back and forth. Your history is just going to be scrutinized a lot more. And if they can detain you, they will, because they need the numbers, right? They need the numbers to show that, 3,000 people to make their mark of 3,000 people per day. So if they can detain you, they're going to detain you. So if you have something in your past, you're a permanent resident, don't you dare leave the United States, even if you've done it a million times without talking to an immigration lawyer, because you could be in the same boat, and it's terrible. Like these people who have mandatory detention because of a drug conviction from 15, 20 years ago, and they're in trouble. Like they're not coming out of the situation.
Yeah. And this is another incentive to naturalize.
Yep.
I mean, I'll take real quick. I know you have a lot of questions there, but the next one up here from Dantastic Renal Nurse was, I'm a naturalized citizen convicted of domestic violence 1 year after I got my citizenship. Dismissed. Is it safe to travel? Guess what? This person, now has a domestic violence conviction, but it was after they became a U.S. citizen, and it was dismissed probably through what we were talking about, some sort of a deferred action where there probably were some counseling classes or something like that. That's very typical in domestic violence cases. You know, we all know, these are fights that go too far, and, the cops come out, and next thing you know, you're in court. I used to see it all the time. It wasn't always like a major thing. A lot of times people even tried to drop the case. By the time they got to their court date, they just wanted to drop it. Everybody had made up, everyone had moved on. And a lot of deferred findings that happen in these cases where you do a counseling class, you come back a year later, everybody says things are going great, they dismiss the charge. I'm talking about all this because Dantastic actually has a conviction and can travel. Doesn't need to worry about it because they already are a U.S. citizen. So,
and they were a U.S. citizen when they had the conviction.
Yes.
Like they naturalized, had the domestic violence conviction, which got dismissed, right? Probably a year later after you mentioned. So it's no worries. I mean, go do whatever bad thing you want after you become a U.S. citizen. I mean, don't do it. But I tell my clients when we're talking as permanent residents, and I say, look, when we're going over what it means to have a green card, we say, look, you can still get deported as a permanent resident if you commit certain crimes, right? If you stay outside of the United States, you can lose your green card. And I say, after you become a U.S. citizen, do whatever you want. Smoke all the marijuana you want. I don't care. I mean, I do care. But my point is that you're free, right? You don't have to worry about it. Like Dantastic doesn't have to worry about it because this conviction came after he became a U.S. citizen. So we said we were going to lecture about it, but we did kind of. This is so important, guys. Like, don't be like this.
Well, most people that don't naturalize, they want to naturalize. They really do. And it's just it's a procrastination thing. They get comfortable. They're a permanent resident. They work. Everything's great. And they just keep thinking, I really would love to be a citizen, but, that's more money and paperwork again. I'll do that next month. I'll do that next year. Next year is really going to be it. I'm going to do it. And this happens, and years and years and years go by, and it's, just you're worth it. Just do it.
Worth it. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
That was totally lecturing. Okay.
We have a couple more minutes because we started a little bit late. Right. Lily, this is the same type of questions about traveling. When my lawyer filed my change of status through my U.S. military son, I was already out of status for 4 months. My petition was approved after 5 months. So Lily became a lawful permanent resident based on her son petitioning for her. The son had to be is a U.S. citizen. My question is, will this cause some issues or questioning? My son and I will be visiting my original country next January. Salamat po. No problems, no issues. So long as you didn't have any issues getting the green card, you didn't hide anything from your green card, you put everything on the application that needed to be put on the application, then you're fine. And I think the core of the question is, I was out of status. Is my being out of status when I got my green card going to be a problem for traveling outside the United States and back in? No, it is not going to be a problem. You can file for the green card if you are an immediate relative, which is, the parent of a U.S. citizen, the spouse of a U.S. citizen, the unmarried child under the 21 of a U.S. citizen, and you can do it while you're out of status, and that is cured when you become a lawful permanent resident of the United States. So travel away. It sounds like you're going to the Philippines. Wonderful. Have a great time. Do not stay outside the United States for more than 6 months. Okay.
You're welcome. I'll stick with English.
You're welcome.
Rather, I was a little concerned with my Tagalog there earlier, so I'm going to stick with English.
No, please speak Tagalog. One of us should. Okay, let's grab one more question.
Yes, so Mariah wants to know, 24 months pending I-130, spouse has withholding of removal. What's the next step?
Spouse has withholding. The I-130 petition is still pending, and you have to wait until the I-130 petition is approved until you can move on to the next step, unfortunately. So, all right. Need that I-130 petition to move on to the next step, guys. Lily is so relieved. We will put that up, that we have provided relief to someone, which is great. It makes us feel good.
Yeah, I like to look at the thumb, trying to see what that is. I don't recognize that
there's
one.
There's a gnat.
Yep.
The gnats have arrived to tell us to go down and make dinner for our children.
Okay. That's
all right, guys. It's been amazing tonight.
Absolutely.
It's so great to be back.
It is great to be back.
Please join us again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. And if you can do us a favor, follow and like, we would really appreciate it. And that way you don't miss any important updates that we have with regards to immigration law. And we look forward to answering your questions again next week. We always have a good time when we come.
And we won't be jet lagged. Hopefully,
won't be jet lagged.
Hopefully you couldn't tell that we are completely jet lagged right now.
Okay. We really are.
All right, guys.
2 thumbs up.
We will see you next Wednesday. All right. Take care,
All right.
everyone.
Bye-bye, guys.